We prepare very simple, very cheap solution, and we invite youngsters and volunteers every year about summer camp, 2 weeks, about 40 to 100 people make manually, for example, small wooden dams on small streams, on water holdings, and to accumulate water.
There's a huge difference between these water catchments and dams, because dams, what happens is that a large amount of water, land area gets flooded, we create these huge reservoirs, then the water becomes stagnant in them, and the mercury, it starts to spread throughout the water system itself, and it creates a whole different set of problems. In these water catchments, what happens is that the water is trapped so that it goes right into the ground itself, and therefore starts to replenish the groundwater systems.
A môžeme vlastne mať zo žltej krajiny zelenú. Povedzme, pre vysušené regióny sveta, ktoré môže with creation of clouds in atmosphere and create of raining. This model can to create million and million jobs for poor people around the globe. Blue alternative solution is very easy, simple, cheap, solving of complex problem.
And it, quite frankly, is the antidote to desalinization. This is the kind of approach that we need to take in order to revitalize and rebuild our groundwater systems.
And then we have to stop going into the groundwater and taking it out in such a phenomenally cavalier way.
In the U.S., the largest amount of groundwater is being used for agriculture. And you really have to deal with agriculture to solve our water problems.
The water efficiency with hydroponic systems is 20 to 30 times more efficient than crops growing outdoors.
The reason is that we are placing the water directly to the base of the crop through drip or trickle irrigation systems.
We can take that fish called tilapia, and when they grow in this water, we can take that nutrient-rich water and go on to crops with that. And any excess of water going onto the roots, it's collected. It can go back to the fish and then go through the system again. And it's these technologies that will save this planet in the next century.
What we really need to do is go back to a food system where we're not dependent on global trade and where we're really using our local water and soil resources to grow crops that are appropriate.
There's a move towards decommissioning these dams, taking them down, and that movement, that trend towards decommissioning is really important, but it sets the stage also that we need to move towards alternative ways of supplying the power that's necessary, whether it be through these micro-turbines
that are in stream completely. You don't need a dam to hold back water. They just use the natural flow of rivers or coasts. Korea has been investing in this technology. Scandinavia has. I mean, they're sort of seeing their era of large dam building coming to an end as well.
As we expand urbanization to meet our growing population needs, there are alternative permeable pavement solutions which allow rainwater to infiltrate through into the subsoil. Pollutants from cars are filtered and removed and thus do not pollute the groundwater. The water quality is actually improved. Even with these advancements, the ultimate development solution is to limit the population growth of a region pending on the available water supply, which is exactly what the citizens of Bolinas, California did.
And so the towns decided that they would put a moratorium on all housing growth until they had adequate supply of water. And that water moratorium was challenged immediately and was in courts for 14 years. They just didn't want a town to be able to control growth. They considered it interference with commerce. But ultimately we won, and yeah, it's working.
What we can learn from the Bolinas example is the whole challenge to learn to live within the limits of our watersheds.
And in this village where we really have shortage of water, we use some water that is being poured on your hands as you wash your hands sparingly. And people really value any amount of water that they have.
It's exactly the opposite of America. I mean, America could save 20 to 30% of its water really easily. If if we adopted the toilet style of Israel, for instance, which has 2 buttons, one for urine and one for feces, the one for urine is less than a quart.
You know, everybody takes water for granted. We're going to have to grow a constituency for water issues. Think about climate change. Groups have been working on climate change for 20 years, and it's taken that long for the general public to be aware of it and for us to begin to make the legislative and regulatory changes that are necessary to really solve the problem. We need to do that for water.
To call for a United Nations Convention that explicitly states that water is a human right and a public trust that must not be denied to anyone on the basis of inability to pay. Demanding that we put this language in an international framework at the United Nations. Because the operations of these corporations, these water barons, have now gone global, this has gone beyond nation-state law and requires us to bring in some kind of instrument at an international level to control these companies.
And that led to the really exciting change in Uruguay.
En el Uruguay se privatizó el servicio de distribución de agua potable. A poco de haberse establecido, los precios se elevaron exorbitantemente. El agua que se distribuyó en algún momento estuvo contaminada. Se llegó incluso a cortarle el servicio a una escuela. Los uruguayos, con una larga tradición democrática, promovieron la reforma de la Constitución,
where citizens were able to pass a constitutional amendment that actually established the right to water and forbids privatization.
That's the model that we've been using when we talk to groups around the world and the model that we're promoting. So we're looking for a small group of nations to begin a process within the process in the United Nations. There are some powerful countries opposing the right to water, most prominently the United States. To my eternal shame, my own country, Canada.
It has a lot of water resources, and they're concerned about having to send water to the United States.
China, Egypt, Australia, and possibly India.
They don't want to have to be responsible for providing their citizens water.
This is life and death what we're talking about, and I feel very, very strongly that we have to put ourselves out there on the line, and sometimes it can be dangerous, but we have people power on our side.
To the disapproval of the citizens of the small town of Freiburg, Maine, the water bottling company Poland Springs set up a plant. To appease the population, Poland Springs gave away a case of bottled water to the first 50 townspeople to visit their office. Led by 89-year-old Republican store owner Howard Dearborn, they poured the bottled water into Lovewell's Pond, back where it came from.
This week at the World Social Forum is being launched an historic organization, the African Water Network.
A world that is going to say no to commodification of our common goods like water.
To mobilize and protect Africa's precious water sources from abuse and from corporate theft.
Now we have a defiance campaign that says, okay, you can install your meter. After you turn your back, we take it out, we connect the pipes, and then we throw your meter away.
The court case has cost over $1 million. We've done a lot of innovative fundraising, and you have to realize that we're just normal, ordinary people who are living day to day and fighting, this giant.
I play sports, I hang out with my friends, I do all that regular stuff any teenager would do. It's just I do this on the side. I just wanted to get people clean water so they wouldn't die. I guess being that young sort of helped a lot because I think I was too young to be nervous. You just see smiles light up on people's faces because they have clean water to drink. A smile doesn't light up on my face because I can have a shower in the morning.
None of these people, I don't know if there was an activist in the group. When you come from the grassroots, I think legislators look at it totally differently than they do if you are an activist. And I think that's what we had, is they couldn't go back on us and say, you guys are always out there raising a ruckus. Probably the end result isn't going to affect any of us because we're going to be gone. But we're fighting for the people that are going to use it in the future, our kids and their kids. If we don't do something to save it, what are they going to have?
Bottom line is, those people are there. And I'm talking Republicans, Democrats, and everything else in between and beyond. They're there because if money is more important than water, where are we?
Our previous mayor was indicted and tried and is currently serving time.
Et le maire, ministre de la Communication, a été mis en examen puis emprisonné avant d'être condamné.
We've made some serious enemies. I've made some serious enemies for myself. But as my mother would say, serious people have serious enemies.
Because it's not going to necessarily happen through governments alone. It's not going to happen through industry and by corporations. We, the people, must become the water guardians of the 21st century.
What water is in my backyard? What's the name of the watershed I live in? We should all know that. Just the way we know our town